As a veteran marketer, I've been doing marketing for, I don't know, over 15 years, not to date myself. But if I took over your marketing on March 1st, this is exactly what I would do. Also, hello, I'm Rebecca McCusker. I am founder of McCusker's Marketing. We help independent growers like garden centers, wineries, agritourism destinations attract a wider customer base, younger customers, increase foot traffic, of course, and grow revenue without wasting money on marketing that doesn't work. So, what would I do? The first 5 things I would do if I took over your marketing right now. First, I would get aligned on core goals. This is always a great first step. Why? Because if you're clear on what success looks like, then you have a clarity on what to do and how to do it a little bit more. So, what great goals for garden centers and wineries, agritourism is, of course, you want to increase that foot traffic. You want to see that revenue is going up, especially against the same season last year. So we typically check this on a monthly or quarterly basis for y'all. And then you want to repeat those repeat visits. You want to increase repeat visits and loyalty. So for wineries, of course, this means a sip club. And for garden centers, this means a loyalty program. So I would figure out what the goal is. And what success is going to look like here. Second thing I would do is a visibility reset. We got to look at the first 30 seconds of when somebody engages with you anywhere online and what are they experiencing? This means asking, if someone discovered us today, what do they see in that first 30 seconds? This means we're cleaning up first impressions, your digital storefront, the messaging clarity, the search presence, and the aesthetic alignment, making sure that you look and feel like you want to look and feel to continue customers before you do any more marketing and add volume. So we're auditing that first 30 seconds. We're pulling up Instagram, Facebook, Google My Business profile, and your website homepage. And now we're going to pretend that I am a 30-year-old who's never heard of you guys before. And then I'm going to ask, is it clear what we are? Does it feel current? Does it feel active? Does it feel like something's happening here? Would I drive 20 minutes for this place? We're going to cover those visibility leaks. We're going to notice if the feed feels outdated or inconsistent, or if it's mostly wordy graphics, or are there any faces, or is there any energy? This is a great time to also update your positioning. We're going to clarify the positioning in your market. So most owners describe themselves something like this: family owned since 1984. I love it. It's heritage, though. It's not differentiation. So a reset means tightening your message to sound something more like the most beautiful way to spend a Saturday in Cincinnati, or where Central Michigan gardens begin, or date night winery in the heart of Rochester. So sometimes you don't really need a rebrand as much as you just need clarity on what makes you special and unique in your market. So as part of this reset, we're going to remove some dead space content. If your last 6 posts are sales graphics, vendor logos, informational flyers, stuff like that, anything with a lot of words and copy on it, don't look alive. So in week 1, I would immediately post 3 real-time pieces of content, which means photos, videos from your place. Behind the scenes, people love watching the labor that goes into your products. We want to see those staff moments, those smiling faces. We want to get to know you guys better. We want to see those inventory arrivals. Focus on your product, on your plants, on your harvest, on your beautiful wines, whatever it is that you're selling and growing. We want to see the behind the scenes cultivation of that. And then, of course, golden hour, right? We want to show people how beautiful it is where you are. Even just simple iPhone content. The goal is to signal we're active, we are happening, we are current. So the third thing I would do is I would create a content cadence. This basically means put together a calendar around your marketing. What are you going to do for marketing? When are you going to do it? And where are you going to do it? If you're like most independent growers, you send out a newsletter, you post on social media sometimes, and you have a website. So what I would do is I would figure out what platforms you're going to be on, your post frequency. Are you going to send a newsletter twice a month or once a month? Are you going to post on social media 3 days a week or 4 days a week? How often are you going to be posting short videos? Stuff like that. Get very clear on your cadence, on your deliverables. And what we typically do at McCusker's Marketing is we come up with 3 or 4 content pillars to decide what you're going to post, what your overall tone is going to be. So this a lot of independent growers. You guys have to convey to your audience that you have quality, especially the garden centers. You guys need to show that your plants perform better than the ones that they can find at big box. The wineries, they need to show experience. This is not just a product. This is an experience. This is a beautiful Saturday. Same for garden centers. You guys are experiential retail. We love showing that quality, the variety. A lot of you centers have a lot more variety than your competitors. So get clear on what you're going to talk about every week. So if you're going to talk about quality every week, what does a quality post look like? What does a post look like that talks about the quality of your plants, the quality of your wines? What does a post look like that shows behind the scenes or your team or your personality behind the faces? So figure out what you want to talk about regularly. And that's just an easier way to plan out content if you know you're going to talk about a little bit in advance. The 4th thing I would do is forge local creator partnerships. So this is just partnerships with local digital creators. It's the new word of mouth, especially among the younger generations, but this is still a powerful tool for the older generations as well. Someone that already has a platform, who has local attention, who has an audience in their own right. Now, local creators might be maybe a local mom that documents weekend adventures on her Instagram. It might be a young couple that shares date night ideas. Might be a food blogger or a home and garden content creator or a family focused YouTube account. These people already influence where locals spend their Saturdays. They might say, hey, we went here last weekend. It was great. Let's show you guys the video we took of how much we enjoyed it. And so this might look like a reel on Instagram, a story on social media, a tagged location, signaling right back to you. So the behavior hasn't changed around word of mouth, but the delivery system has a bit, right? So 92% of customers trust recommendations from people over brands. So when you post about yourself, it's marketing. But when somebody else posts about you, it's a recommendation. So that's a massive difference psychologically in how much the customer is going to trust the message. So how I would handle this is I would get a list going of all the local content creators in your market and in your region. And then reach out to them and say, hey, we would love to create a partnership with you. What does that look like? What's a great way to proceed with you? In my experience, a lot of these creators are just so happy to work with a local grower, like a winery or a garden center or an agritourism farm, that they are willing to work with you on prices, rates, whatever. Sometimes somebody comes in and says, my neighbor told me about you. That feels like gold, right? Well, the reason these digital content creators are so great is because they're like the neighbor that has 5,000 neighbors who are going to come in because they saw you. So good to remember, Gen Z and millennials discover places through social media. They search inside TikTok and Instagram. They save these posts for later. They share ideas in their DMs. Nearly 40% of Gen Z use TikTok or Instagram literally as a search engine. So if your business is not showing up in those real local feeds, then you're invisible in that early discovery phase. So the 5th thing I would do is some conversion triggers. And I know that is jargon, but we are creating urgency and clarity. And what does this look like? Instead of saying, we have a spring sale, A conversion trigger is more of a first tomato weekend, or a pansy fest, or a native plant launch day, or a Saturday planting workshop, or a golden hour garden walk. Something smaller, very specific. These give people a reason, a time, a moment, and it is what drives foot traffic. A few springs ago, we decided to, for one of our garden centers out of Ohio, we just started little pansy festival, pansy and viola festival in March. Just the first, trying to get people in before the spring season actually started. Now, our client had the highest revenue of any March they had ever had because of this little conversion trigger. Just something as simple as a little pansy fest. And they already had beautiful pansy and viola blooms that time of year anyway, right? So might as well just show people a specific reason, a specific moment. They invited, I think they had a coffee truck come or something very simple like that. And they had a horticulturalist give a speech, something very simple. They had a guitar player come. So it just creates that little moment where they have an excuse to come over. That's just more than just a sale. Now, for wineries, this might look like, instead of wine tasting available, you might say Sunset and Syrah Thursdays, live acoustic Fridays, all April long, spring release weekend, founders table night. It reframes the visit from just about being about your product to cultivating an experience to remember. Specific beats generic most of the time. So here's some psychology behind it. Especially with the younger customers, they operate on their scrolling through their feed. They see something they like, they save it for later. And then when they pull that up later, they're like, oh yeah, that's what I should do this Sunday. So they might send it to a friend saying, hey, they're doing tomato weekend. Do you want to go? Without these triggers, there's nothing specific to suggest. So what conversion triggers are not? They're not deep discounts. They're not just throwing a sale out there. They're not desperation offers, right? They're not panic marketing. They just amplify demand. They don't try to create it from scratch. So to recap this whole video, if I took over your marketing right now, I would first get aligned on those core goals. I would define what success looks like. I would do a visibility reset, just a quick online audit. Make sure you look the way you need to online. Make sure there's no visibility leaks. The next thing I would do is I would create a content cadence, get organized with an overarching strategy, bake it into a calendar, keep yourself accountable, have some discipline with it, and then forge those local creator partnerships. Super important. Trying to amplify that word of mouth. And then I would come up with some very specific, what we can call them conversion triggers, or we can call them specific events or specific celebrations, glimmer moments to bring people in. So hopefully you found something out of this video that you thought was helpful. I hope that is the case. If you found this video helpful, consider liking and subscribing. We're going to be producing content every month. And again, my name's Rebecca McCusker, founder of McCusker's Marketing for independent growers in horticulture. We'll see you next time.